Hello and welcome to Pictorial Planet. My name's John Finch. On Monday we took Rodinal and we reduced its grain by putting 10 milliliters of an additive into it. The additive idea was sent to me by a patron, Tim, and I thank Tim for that. Now it worked, but there was a reduction in activity of the developer, and so using regular Rodinal times I had less than optimally developed negatives with the additive. So this week I've been doing a little bit of experimentation just to increase the amount of development that was needed with this additive to bring the contrast of the negatives of regular Rodinal 1 plus 50 and this Rodinal 1 plus 50 plus the additive. I wanted the contrast of the negatives for both to be about the same, and I've achieved that with a 25% increase in development time. So I'm going to quickly chop over so I can show you the amount of grain, but TLDR, yes, it's reduced the grain by probably half. Let's have a look. I developed the negatives longer with the grain reducer, so I got the same contrast on both the Rodinal 1 plus 50 and the Rodinal 1 plus 50 and grain reducer. So we're looking at the same contrast here. On the right hand side is the Rodinal straight 1 plus 50, 8 minutes. And on the left hand side we have the grain reducer, 9.5 minutes. And they're both printed at grade 2. So let's look at the grain. So as we zoom in here, we can quite clearly see the grain for the Rodinal 1 plus 50, and then I'm going to move that out the way so you can see the grain reducer. Rodinal 1 plus 50, grain reducer, and I think you'd agree it has reduced the grain. I would estimate, and it's very hard, this is completely subjective, but I would estimate that that has halved the size of the grain. Look at that. Straight Rodinal 1 plus 50, grain reducer. I think that's half the grain. It looks much more to me like a D76 size grain now. So there you have it. I wanted to get this to you so that you could see that difference with the longer development time with the grain reducer, because it does reduce the activity of the Rodinal, so it needs longer. I gave it 25% longer. And as we look at the prints, there is more brightness to the Rodinal 1 plus 50, but honestly, if I could probably print this slightly higher, slightly less time under the enlarger, and it would come up to this. They're both nice, they're both sharp. There's the grain reducer, look how sharp. Lots of detail. And here's the Rodinal. You can see there's definitely more contrast. It's a steeper curve with the Rodinal. But look at that grain. And then look at that grain. It's quite interesting of a way to reduce the grain if you want one developer and you have occasion to print big and you want to reduce the grain a little bit. You can develop slightly differently. Some people have said, why would you bother? I agree. I mean, Rodinal's Rodinal. Don't you want it for what it gives, for that brightness? But there's also the time, I'm sure, when people have thought, you know what? I've only got a ISO 400 film and I want less grain, so I'm going to develop it with this grain reducer. Very interesting. Thanks for watching. This was just a quick catch up so that you could see the difference, and I will see you Monday with converging verticals.